All right, so it's official. The sister-wife verse is actually losing their minds. Apparently, Cody and Robin have put down $2.1 million on a palatial home in Arizona. A new home. The McMansion just wasn't enough, so they had to buy a bigger house. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you do that? It looks like the show might be coming to a close. Why wouldn't you just go ahead and push all your money onto a house that you probably won't be able to afford in a couple years? But whatever. This is something they decided to do. Now, a lot of channels have talked about it. I believe Without a Crystal Ball, Katie Joy talked about it. Sarah from Reality Squad has talked about it, as well as there's been articles posted from Starcasm. It's been all over Reddit. You know, of course, the viewers, the fans, they're on the case. I've seen a lot of the documents that they posted, and I wanted to give my take on it. Now, here's the thing. I am not an attorney, okay? And I want to give an opportunity to any attorneys out there who watch the channel, or maybe don't watch the channel, but just want to give their perspective or their take on this particular issue, the opportunity to do so. So if you hit me up at MyTakeOnRealityQuestions@gmail.com, I will give you a platform to be able to come in and we could have a conversation and you can explain the ins and outs of what's going on. And you can give your perspective on some of the things that I'm going to say in this video so that way we all have a better understanding from the legal footing of where we are. Now, I really, really want to talk to somebody who is barred in either Arizona or specifically Utah. That would be awesome. So if you know somebody, tell them to hit me up at MyTakeOnRealityQuestions@gmail.com. Now, to get into it, we have to first go through some of the history of the case. Now, I want to be very clear and very upfront. I don't think that a lot of what Cody did is as bad as a lot of people are saying it is. I think that it makes you kind of an ass to do this. And it makes you a jerk when you have these types of obligations that you clearly aren't meeting, and you go ahead and just flout that you have all this extra money and you could be paying child support, but you choose not to because that's the kind of dude I am and that's how I'm rolling. Like that's, that speaks more to his character than his potential of actually going to prison or being found guilty of anything. So I just want to give my thoughts on how I think this is set up and is going to play out. Now, let's run through some of the history. To start off, there was a petition for declaration of paternity, child custody, parent time, and support that was filed by Christine on September 16th. Of 2024. And this was filed against Cody. Now, we have to keep that in mind because that's very important, especially as we're talking about a married couple and potentially an LLC business. Okay, so it was filed against Cody. Domestic relations injunction was also filed at the same time. And that's where a lot of people are kind of hanging their hats as far as where Cody may have violated this injunction. He may have broken the rules because according to the injunction, they're not, in addition to them not being able to talk bad about one another, he ain't nothing, he's terrible, he's a deadbeat daddy, your daddy ain't nothing. Like they can't do that. He can't go back and talk about how Christine has knifed him in the kidneys and taught him and tortured him and sacrificed and abandoned him. He can't say those things to Truly, but in addition to all those things, they can't take the kids out of state. They can't, hold the kids back without giving them opportunities to be able to communicate to the parent who is not in control of them or have custody at the time. All these things are pretty much standard. The one thing that kind of sticks out and is a little unique, at least from what I understand about a lot of these jurisdictions, the one thing that's a little unique to Utah is that as part of their injunction, their domestic relations injunction, is that they prevent people from being able to transfer properties, buy, sell, or transfer the name of property, et cetera, et cetera. Like basically give property away. Oh, I think that Robin should have this house, have all my money. You can't do those type of things. It prevents you. And it makes a lot of sense, especially if you take into account that this is a place where they're used to polygamous acting out this way. So you'll have the guy married to a whole bunch of, well, not married to, but he'll have a whole bunch of baby mamas. One of the ladies will choose to leave, try to sue him for child support, and then he'll take all of his funds and transfer it to one of his wives, possibly his first wife or whoever, put everything in their names. They've actually talked about this on the show. So it makes sense that the legislature, to protect against this type of thing that they're used to, would put this into place where you can file an injunction to prevent the movement or transfer of funds. So I'm not disagreeing with that assessment by anybody who has made that observation. It was also reported that Cody filed a response and counterclaim. Now, again, this is also no surprise, and it is completely standard. So essentially what this is, or what this means is that Christine went, she filed a claim saying that Cody wasn't taking care of his responsibilities, deadbeat dad, basically, blah, blah, blah. And Cody has to file a response basically saying, no, I'm not. lie, pants on fire. And then the complaint or the countersuit would come in where Cody is alleging or asserting his rights, where he's saying that I want to have X, Y, and Z. These are my demands. Now, the thing that I think may be interesting is if Cody is filing his countersuit or part of his counterclaim is an allegation that Christine had actually created a scenario where she's guilty of parental alienation, meaning that she wouldn't allow Cody to be a part of Truly's life. That would be crazy because according to what we see on the show, and this is all based on what we see on the show, which is also an interesting part we'll get into in a little bit, but based on what we see on the show, it sounds like Christine was excited about Cody hanging out with Truly and being a part of Truly's life. So the idea that all of a sudden Cody is accusing her of stealing Truly away and not allowing him to see her, talk to her, spend time with her, and especially the way he explained it on the show, which is part of the reason why a lot of attorneys don't want their clients on reality shows. Because the way Cody explained it, he thinks it's alienation if one of his kids' moms, his baby mama, tell him that he can't come over and spend the night at her house. That all of a sudden that's parental alienation. That's not parental alienation. So if that's the basis of his claim, he's going to get laughed out of court. But we'll see what happens. He has an attorney, so I'm sure his attorney, if he's barred and he has any experience whatsoever, he's not going to present the case that way. So we'll see what happens. And that's also like when we talk about the claims, we talk about the complaints, the petition is filed to move the case or initiate the case. We have to keep in mind that these are all allegations. We are familiar with a lot of the ins and outs, goings on of the family because we've been watching them for 19 seasons. The court, prospectively, has not. And even if they have watched the show at some point, like a judge for some reason has watched the show and he doesn't recuse, or she doesn't recuse themselves, or they don't recuse themselves, even if that's the case, they can't take anything that they see on the show as fact. And the case, therefore, has to be decided on evidence and fact that is presented during the course of the trial or during the course of the proceedings. So we just have to keep that in mind, because we can say there's tons and tons of evidence of Cody mistreating or not being neglectful or whatever the case may be when it comes to these kids. And Cody could just simply make the argument that that's done for the benefit of the show. Because I have been involved. I have been sending messages. I have been asking to see Truly, and Christine won't allow me, or she won't make time for me to see her. She says that Truly doesn't want to see me, et cetera, and then use the whole, she's been talking crap about me behind my back, talking me, the excuse that he's been perpetrating on, pushing forward on the show. We may see a more legalized, sanitized version of those allegations. Now, later up, to update it, at some point in August, Cody and Robin put the McMansion up for sale for $1.6 million. And this sent the internet ablaze because we were like, they're about to sell the house. They trying to hide some money, and they've been doing it the whole time. They got walls covered in crap paint, you know, paintings and figurines and car parking lot full of stuff. They hiding all their money. They selling stuff off. And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but no sooner did they put that house up, they took the house down. Now, at $1.6 million, to have the house up for less than 30 days or a little over 30 days is not realistic. So it's very possible that the reason why Kody and Robin pulled the house down was because they put the house up right around the time of the complaint hitting and Kody being served the complaint for custody. But there wasn't an agreement in place. See, there's a big difference between what happened with the house that they were trying to sell, the McMansion, and the house that they bought. Because when they were trying to sell the McMansion, there were no offers. They didn't have an offer. There wasn't an agreement in place. There was nothing moving the ball forward at all. The house is up for sale. It goes up, it comes down. That's the way it kind of worked. Again, what has the sisterverse ablaze is the reality that Kody and Robin went back and on October 24th, they closed on a $2.1 million house. So they bought another house after failing to sell their first house. So they have like all kinds of money going out in mortgage payments, which is insane. Like, I don't know, they're just bad with money. One of the big questions is, why is this allowed? Will he go to jail? I hate to say it, I don't think he will. Like, I don't think he's going to get in trouble for this. And I'm going to explain why. Some people are going to be like, boo, boo. But I guess I'm the bad news bear in this one. Because there's a few things that we just have to keep in mind. There's certain realities that we have to kind of keep in perspective. And again, if an attorney from either one of these jurisdictions wants to call in or get in touch with me, please do. And correct me if somebody else, one of my YouTube contemporaries, has any evidence to contradict anything I say, please present it. I hope I'm wrong, but these are some of my issues. The first thing is I thought about the issue of reciprocity. Utah has the domestic injunction barring the transfer of property. So Kody and Robin could be prevented from selling property. Arizona does not have that. Like, Arizona doesn't have it. Story time. I'm familiar with two states. There are two states that sit next to each other, neighboring states. One state has very strict traffic control laws, right? And these laws will include, for certain violations, will include prison. It could include the suspension of licenses, so on and so forth for certain violations. The next state, they have laws on the book, but for the breaking of these certain laws, it results in a fine, a financial fine. If you get caught violating the law in the one state, state A, and you're a resident of state B, if state A tries to suspend your license, state B has historically taken a position that they will not suspend that license because that law goes too far and it doesn't impact their drivers the same way. I'm not sure if Arizona will take that position with regard to Utah's law of saying that Kody can't transfer property. There's additional issues that I think kind of pepper into this, into my mindset as I think about it, of why Arizona might not acknowledge that reciprocity for Utah. In addition, we always have to keep in mind that the injunction is against Kody. Now, I mentioned this earlier. Why is that important? Because we can't overlook Robin's interest, and we also can't ignore the involvement of Dabsark LLC, which is a separate entity who Kody may be a managing partner of or may be affiliated with, controlling interest or controller or administrator of said trust, the Whitestone Trust, and or the LLC. He may be a managing board member for that LLC, but that has nothing to do with his child support. That's a separate entity, that's a separate thing. Robin's money, Robin's interests are a separate thing. So if they proceeded with these purchases of the $2.1 million house, I'm not sure it would be accredited to Cody. In addition, we also have to keep in mind that Dabsark LLC, as well as Whitestone Trust, may be registered in Arizona and not subject to the rules, regulations, guidelines, or laws of Utah, meaning that Utah can't tell these separate entities, these non-parties, that they can or can't move or transfer funds. Again, I want to hear from an attorney whether this holds water or whether this is a possibility. In addition to that, the signed contract or the agreement for the sale of the $2.1 million home was entered into in August of 2024. So and this is from a document that I noticed on Katie Joy's video, because the initial document was entered into and the agreement was entered into in August of 2024, and that money was pledged, we don't know if that money was transferred or what the case may be, or if it was put into a trust or put into escrow and put in under the name of the LLC and or the trust. In which case, if Christine filed later in the next month, hell, even the next day, it would be too late because the money would already be gone, and Cody could argue, in my mind, he could reasonably argue that he had nothing to do with it, and this is just Dabsark and or Whitestone and or Robin or all three, and he merely put his money in, and this is before he was told not to do it. And this is the subtle difference between the $2.1 million home and the $1.6 million McMansion. The McMansion was not under contract. There was no agreement. So he can't enter into a new contract or a new agreement after the injunction was filed and issued. The agreement that he had as far as the $2.1 million home was entered into at least 15, 20 days before the case was filed by Christine. And this isn't even guaranteeing that Cody had been served at that point. So you can't force me to recognize an injunction if I've never been served with said injunction. So that's why service is so important, of when he was served, when he was notified by the court. Here's just some other things that I wanted to touch on, the realities of child support. When we talk about child support, we have to keep in mind that child support is issued by family court, and family court is the place of heartbreak. This is family court is a cold customer. Okay, if you want to see the saddest things you've ever seen in life, go down to family court and watch them people come out of family court. You can tell the difference between people who are struggling financially, trying to make things work because they're trying to take care of their kids, and they walk out, they're broken. They're broken. And then you see the non-custodial parent come out with a big old smile on their face, hop in a brand new car and drive off with their girlfriend in the front seat, drive off. And the custodial parent goes stand on the bus stop. Another thing is, courts can order you to pay, but they can't order you to be a parent. The cold part of this is Cody could be asked to write a check, but he could refuse to see Truly. He could say, I don't want to have nothing to do with her. Okay, yeah, fine, I'm her daddy, but I don't want nothing to do with her. It's cold and it's dark that would happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. But like I said, courts can force you to pay, but they can't make you be a parent. His child support may not be the cash windfall that everybody kind of holds it out to be. Like, oh, she's taking him to child support, she's going to get all this money. Not necessarily. And I say that because we have to keep in mind that we're talking about child support, not recompense for misdeeds or bad behavior or some kind of financial investment failure. Okay, if Christine wants to do that, she has to do that in a separate action in a different court. We're talking about making sure that truly is taken care of financially. And part of that is when they do the child support equation or formula, they have to take into account of what the income of both parents are, what their income is, what are their financial obligations. We're talking about other children. Cody at this point is the only one who has additional minor children who he's responsible for. If Janelle takes him to court, then that would also be added to his plugged into his part of the formula. Any financial obligations that he would have, ironically, mortgages, bills, lights, cameras, all that stuff that involves him personally that he has to take care of, those are going to get plugged in. In addition, like I said earlier, they're going to talk about the income of each one of the parents. And the income of each parent, normally, especially in certain jurisdictions, I live in a jurisdiction where you can't take into account what the step parent makes. So Robin's income wouldn't be included in my state. In my jurisdiction, her income wouldn't be included. It would just be the parents and only the parents. We also have to keep in mind that Cody and Christine roughly make about the same amount of money. Okay, so it's not like Cody is sitting there and he's balling and he's making all kinds of millionaire moves and Christine is scrubbing floors and scrubbing toilets for a living. And, she's going to get a little come up because he's going to put her in a different tax bracket through the child support payments. That's not the case. In fact, I'd be willing to argue, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that Christine actually made more than Cody, because Christine is doing additional interviews, has other appearances outside of Sister Wives. She also has shows like Cooking with Christine. So she has like these specials and things that she's getting paid for. She's making a good amount of money because she has a bigger social media presence than Cody does. So in addition to all those things, she has additional money that's coming in from the MLMs that she's involved with. So the reality of it is that Christine, even though she will get some money for Truly, like they're not going to tell Cody he doesn't have to pay anything, but I don't think it's going to be this huge windfall that going to damn near break Cody, because he, realistically, she probably makes so much more money than he does. Now, on the other side of it, like I mentioned before with the step parent, in Utah, they do have a possibility. Again, it's not guaranteed, but there is a possibility that the step parent's income can be figured into the parent's income as part of their financial obligations. So Robin's money could potentially be included in Cody's money. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see how it pans out as they start to make further decisions. Now, I like to try to give some hope, some happy news. So I do think that there are a few upsides that I wanted to kind of cover. With a court order, things will be clear and there will be established of who gets what, when, where, why, and how. So the money will be settled. As far as when visitation occurs, that will be settled. Who gets like holidays, whatever the case may be, that'll be settled. And that'll be one less argument or conversation that Christine is forced to have with Cody and or Robin. Technically, she doesn't have to talk to Robin about any of this, but that's one less conversation that she'll have to bother herself with. So things will be laid out and clear as far as who's doing what and who's responsible for what. And it will be crystal clear who has what rights and who has, like, for instance, custody, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other things is that in Utah, a child at the age of 14 has the ability to have their voice heard by the court as with regard to what they want to happen, who they want to stay with. Truly could go to court and say directly, I want to live with Christine and David Willie. That's who I grew up with. That's where I want to stay. She could go there and say, Luke, with a wild hair up her butt and say, I want to live with Cody and Robin in the $2.1 million house. She could do that. It is frowned upon for a court to ask a child to choose between parents in that way. So they try their best to try to figure things out sans the kid's opinion, because you don't want to have the kid get up there and put themselves in a tight spot, because that'll jack up Christmas and Thanksgiving, okay? If you go up and say, yeah, I don't want to live with dad because he's an ass, like that could make things difficult, especially when, because he is the father, Kody is her dad, he's going to get some visitation. Unless she can prove that he's somehow dangerous truly in some crazy way, that, you know, aside from like when she was 2 years old and he didn't give her water and she had that kidney thing and she almost passed dead, you know, at that point, Christine could have filed some paperwork and she might have got sole custody and he might have had supervised visits. At this point, that you know, the attorney, Kody's attorney is going to, you know, file all kinds of objections, and it probably won't even be heard or considered. So they would have to establish that Kody is a danger now. Kody is a bad parent now. And being a bad parent doesn't mean he doesn't come by, see, or call for truly. Being a bad parent means that he's dangerous. And so without that being proven in court, Kody most likely will get some kind of custody. And because of that, they're probably not going to ask Truly to get up and make that kind of declarative statement that she doesn't want to be with her dad. And ultimately, in my opinion, I don't think Christine filed this to try to screw Kody over. If she really wanted to screw Kody over financially, she would have kept her name on the Cody Pass parcel that she had in Arizona, and she could have messed with Kody all day long, because her house was her house. There was nothing like that whole, oh, I'm going to take my house and click, and I'm going to give him his Cody Pass property, click, and we're going to have an even break on. No, bullshit. If that's your house, your investment, your down payment, your payments, your name is on it. It really don't matter about payments and down payments. Whose name is on it? That's all they care about. Four corners, okay? What does the paper say? Your name is on the paper as the only person who's on the deed. That's it. They don't care. So she could have messed with Kody, and she chose not to. And so this could be her way of trying to make Kody, or at least force Kody, into taking some kind of responsibility for Truly and recognizing it. Because there is a thing where, at least a strategy, where if you have full custody of a child, there's no paperwork, there's no court order, you're basically doing it, and the other parent isn't really involved. Unless you want to try to pull them in, you don't take them for financial stuff, for child support, because that may be the only thing keeping them at bay. That may be the only reason they don't call and make demands, is because they don't want to pay. And so when you start asking somebody to pay, that could invite them to go down and file for child custody or child, you know, to be involved, visitation, so on and so forth. Because if I'm going to pay, then and you're going to mess with me and my money, then I'm going to start messing with you. I want holidays. Do I really want to see them on the holidays? Not really, but I want you to know that I could do it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So it gets into that type of back and forth. So she very well may be trying to get Kody to be involved more with Truly. This could be a way that she's doing it. So these are some of the things I was thinking. Again, if you have a JD, if you have a license to practice in Utah or Arizona, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say. Let me know what you guys think, whether you have a JD or not. I want to hear what you have to say. Say it down in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's my take. I'm James. This has been My Take on Reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I